If you're planning a lawn renovation, then in this video, I'm going to be going through step-by-step scarification. We're going to do some top dressing, we're going to do some seeding. All the timestamps are going to be linked in the description below. And I've left all the products that you need to complete a renovation like this also in the description section below. You can see overall the lawn's pretty healthy and nice and green, but I've got quite a few patches of these weed grasses which we need to get removed for today. I've also got a bit of thinning of grass in these shady areas like this, just where the light's sort of really been difficult over the winter. We've had a bit of dripping from these bushes, and there's also a bit of an angle on this bed, and this area always seems to struggle over the winter. So we're going to fill that in with some seed and overseed it. In terms of products for the job, I've got the All-American dark green grass seed. I used that last year and the lawn's pretty much stayed really nice and healthy throughout the whole year, especially when it's combined with the fertilizer program. I've also got this seed start fertilizer from my website, gardenlawncareguy.com. I've already, about 2 weeks ago, scarified the whole lawn and give it a treatment of Green Machine, which helps to harden against disease. It'll blacken any moss that you've got and turns the grass dark green. The first step to a project like this is I like to cut the grass really short, just so it's ready to accept the new seed and you can really see what you're working with down at the soil level. After I've cut the lawn, I'm going to be looking at scarifying it. Now, there's two different cassettes with this mower. I prefer this one because it's going to cut deeper into the sward and it's going to give nice grooves for the seed to sit in. If you don't have a machine like this, you can also use a scarifier. The key point is to remove all the thatch and the debris and give that seed somewhere nice to sit and ready to germinate. So you can see from the scarification that we've got these little tracks in the soil. When you can see the soil, that's always a good sign because the seed will want to germinate whenever it's in contact with the soil. And these little tracks will give the seed somewhere to fall into and improve the germination. In terms of all the stuff that I'm removing, I'm actually pulling out quite a lot of the weed grasses that I've got. And I've done the scarification in 2 passes, a vertical and one at roughly 45 degrees. The next step that I want to take is I want to remove some of these weed grasses. Now, in the UK, there are no selective herbicides that you can spray on these grasses, and as opposed to killing off my whole lawn, I wanted to try this year just to see if I could cut some of the patches out. I'm building up the levels and just healing them down just to compress that material that's in there. I'm using a 70-30 root zone or top dressing mix. And a lawn loop just to help me get a nice even finish on the work that I've done. There's links to all the tools and equipment in the description below. And if you're enjoying the video or find any of it useful, please consider subscribing to my channel. Now, what I've just done there is not top dressing. Those levels that I've built up are far too deep for top dressing, and it's quite likely that in some of those spots the levels were so deep that it may well smother the grass underneath them. So I'm only doing that because I needed to fix those levels, and I'm also overseeding. So if you're not going to overseed, you can't really build up the levels that much because it will smother the grass underneath it. And then after I've seeded, I'm going to cover it with a light layer of compost. Now, the difference between the root zone that I've just used and compost is root zone won't degrade as much over time. So that's going to be really the base for our lawn. And I'm going to use root zone for creating the levels, and if I need to fine top dress, do some fine top dressing. And the compost has got a different purpose, and the compost purpose is really to feed the soil and just cover those seeds. I'm also going to use a little bit of a wetting agent. Now, the wetting agent isn't mandatory for a job like this, but what it can do, especially if you've got really hard soils, is just help with that water penetration, especially if you're going to be watering the seeds, or at this time of year. You don't want surface water, which can again move the seeds from the area that you want them to be. And using a wetting agent is just going to help that water penetrate from the surface into the soil where you really want it to be. Now, the wetting agent does like to be watered in. This product is working within the soil profile, not necessarily in the leaves. What that means is normally you want quite a lot of water to apply this product with, but in this case I'm just going to use probably around 5 litres of water, because I know that I'm going to be watering in afterwards. The seed that I'm using is from my website, gardenlawncareguide.com, and if you're looking for professional quality grass seeds and lawn fertilizers, then I've got a full range with loads of information on how to use them and how to get the best results. So if you're interested in doing a project like this, visit gardenlawncareguide.com, and all the links are in the description for all the products and tools that I'm using today. Okay, so after the seeding's gone down, I've done 2 passes in different directions on a slightly lower setting on the spreader, and I recommend doing this because it's going to give you a much even coverage. Especially if this is something that you're not used to doing, then just dial your spreader right the way down, keep doing passes until you've got all the seed right the way across the lawn, and that's going to give you a really nice and even coverage of grass seed exactly where you want it. I'm also going to use this seed start fertilizer, which is high in phosphorus. Now, when you're overseeding, you do not want to use regular lawn feeds or lawn feeds with weed killer in it or moss killer in it. All those things are going to be too harsh and aggressive for new grass seed. New grass seed needs phosphorus to grow, and I picked this seed start fertilizer purely because it's high in phosphorus, and that's going to encourage healthy root growth in both new grass seed and in turf as well. After everything's down, I'm using the Lanzi compost roller from gardenimports.co.uk, and I just drop my compost into this roller and spread it across the lawn. I do passes in the forwards and backwards and left and right, and I find it gives me a really nice and even coverage right the way across the lawn, and it also screens out any of the thicker or coarser materials that you don't really want leaving on the lawn surface. So this after I've applied the compost layer on the lawn. Things are starting to look really nice now. I don't know if you can make this out on the camera, but you can see this is just grading out some of the debris. But I've had maybe a couple of bags worth in there, and it's actually really good, that compost. There's not a lot of material in it at all to take out. If you're interested to see the follow-up and the results of this video, subscribe to my channel and I'll publish an update in a few weeks' time. If you're watching this in the future, I'll link a card at the top for the follow-up video, and the card at the bottom you can click to find all the lawn care products that you need to transform your lawn.